In this video, I'm going to very briefly go through all 41 of Ableton Live 11's audio effects. If you have Ableton Live 10, most of the effects are the exact same, spare a few, and I'm gonna do this all in under 8 minutes. If you like the content, make sure to subscribe. Let's go. Beat repeat works by grabbing a small section of your sound and repeating it to give you a glitching effect. Delay, echo, filter, delay, and grain delay are all delay tools. The main difference is that echo comes with extra settings for modulation and reverb. Filter delay comes with 3 bands of equalization, as well as being able to change the parameters for the left and the right separately, or the left and right signals together. Grain delay works by taking very small pieces of your sound, turning them into what are called grains, and then playing them back through the delay to get some really interesting sounds. Looper is used by pressing the record button, recording something that you're playing, and then it will continuously play in a loop after. Spectral time grabs slices of your audio and uses a resonator within the plugin to make some really interesting paddy type sounds. Drive and color. Amp and cabinet are both used to emulate old school guitar amps and speakers. 7 different presets here of all the different styles of the amp. And then we have the different speaker sizes in cabinet to emulate different size speakers and amps. Drum bus is a saturator, limiter, and bass enhancer. You can learn more about it in this video up in the corner. Dynamic tube, erosion, overdrive, saturator, vinyl distortion, and pedal are all saturation or distortion plugins. Erosion uses sine waves and noise to implement extra harmonics. Overdrive is a saturation with a filter. Pedal emulates an old school guitar distortion pedal. Saturator is a wave shaper, which means it actually changes the waveform, which gives it a bit more grit. It does make it louder, so you can actually turn down the output to compensate for that extra volume. What's different about vinyl distortion is that it actually sounds like you're playing an old vinyl record, so adding just a little bit of this makes it feel like an old school analog type track. And last, we have Redux, which is a bit crusher that reduces the quality so that it sounds more like an old school video game. Dynamics. Compressor, glue compressor, multiband dynamics are all very similar. The compressor is a traditional compressor, which is used to reduce dynamic range of a sound to control the overall volume, make things punchier, make things less punchy. The glue compressor is very similar to a regular compressor, except it's emulated after an old school compressor, which gives it just a little bit of an analog warmth. You can check the description for a link to the video which explains this further. The multiband dynamics is a compressor that works with 3 different bands. You can control the highs, the mids, and the lows separately to have control over different areas of your sounds. A noise gate is used to reduce the volume below the threshold, so this is great for working with vocals or live recordings where you want to reduce the volume of the background noise or some breaths or noises that you don't want in your recording or your sound. As I bring the threshold up, more and more of the sound will be cut out. Last, we have the limiter, which creates a digital ceiling so that the signal cannot pass through that amount. Right here, we have -0.3. So if I turn up the gain, the quieter signals will get louder, but the louder signals will stop at -0.3. This is used mostly in the mastering stages of a track. EQ and filters. The way that equalizers work is by reducing or amplifying parts of a signal by pushing or pulling on different nodes. Starting with the EQ, we have 3 bands, the lows, the mids, and the highs. We can push each section of the track louder or quieter. EQ3 is very similar, how it has the lows, mids, and the highs, but you can actually control the frequencies for the low and the highs, which will in turn control the mids. But my personal favorite is EQ8, which gives you a visual representation and gives you up to 8 bands that you can work with and pull and push according to however you'd like. Some filter settings in here as well. Auto filter works by turning on a low pass, high pass band, or allowing you to move that up or down. This cuts out a lot of the frequency of your sound, similar to how you use an EQ. I won't touch on the modulators because those are maxed for live devices. Let's move on to the pitch and modulation. First, we have the auto pan. This is just going to move the signal back and forth between the left and the right sides of the stereo image. Ableton 10 has the chorus, but the Ableton 11 is chorus and ensemble, which essentially just pushes the width of the sounds and slightly detunes them so that it sounds like more than one sound is playing at the same time. Phaser and flanger pushes in and out the phase of the sound or adds flanger to it, which makes it sound very spacey and warped and kind of wish-washy. Last, we have shifter or frequency shifter. This is going to change the pitch or the fine tuning of your sound. Reverb and resonance. Corpus is a virtual resonator that emulates percussive sounds to give you complex resonances. Reverb and hybrid reverb. So reverb emulates real-life reflections to give you a feeling of space and atmosphere in your songs. The hybrid reverb is a convolution reverb, which means it uses algorithms to create your reverb. I find hybrid reverb is much better for drums, and the original reverb is much better for synths. The spectral resonator creates harmonics by pushing up the frequencies. Vocoder brings one thing to mind for most producers, and that is the Daft Punk sound. But it's also great for adding some extra white noise to your sound. Resonator adds different notes by pushing up these resonances. Utilities. The audio effect rack is a way to place in multiple effects, which allows you to use macros. You can imagine this as the effects are your tools and this is your toolbox. You can also route different parameters to these macro knobs, so turning one knob will change multiple parameters. External audio effect is for if you're routing in any external hardware. You can run it through here. Spectrum is a spectrum analyzer, which shows you in higher quality than the EQ the actual frequencies in a spectrum. Tuner shows you the pitch of the track and how far off you are from the actual proper note. Utility allows you to push or reduce the amount of width, as well as the panning and the output gain. If you like the content, make sure to subscribe and check out this video right here.